What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Chats with the Freak. My name is Emmy, and this week I have three lovely bands that took time out of their schedules during all this crazy virus stuff to come on and chat with me. One is going to be the first one that I play for you guys. I got a chance to talk to Ryan and Matt of Shatter, which is an Australian metal band, and that's the first Australian band I've had the honor of having on here. The second band I'm going to be playing for you guys, or I interviewed, I should say, is Dancing with Ghosts. They are an electric rock band out of Florida. And the third and final band I will be interviewing is a band from PA called UltraViolent. They are pretty cool dudes, and it was a pretty fun, interesting interview to say the least. So I hope you guys enjoy all of my chats this week. And please stay tuned for more. Hey.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Not too bad. Yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm just waking up over here. It's about 8 a.m. In the States. I was trying to do some math with the time zone thing, and I was like, I think this is right. Hopefully I'm not oversleeping.
Oh, we're sorry to get you out of bed so early.
No, it's totally fine. I was just like, I'm glad that my math worked out, because I was like 13 and a half. Wait, I don't have enough math skills for this right now.
It's a big time difference.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't realize that either, but it's cool. I'm really excited to have you guys on. This is the first Australian band I've had on my podcast, so
we're honored.
Cheers for having us on.
Yeah, I'm really excited. So, you guys have a new music video coming out on the 1st for Death Goes On. It's a track off of your debut record. When is the record coming out? Because I was having a problem finding that.
No, the Death Goes On comes out tomorrow. Well, yeah, it gets released publicly on YouTube, and the song goes on Spotify and whatnot tomorrow. The album comes out on the 1st.
Okay, cool. That's where I read it a couple of times. I was like, I'm confused. When's the record coming out? Okay, cool. So, what can you guys tell me about the video that's coming out?
So the new video is just pretty much for the closing track on the album. It's a short, sharp one, and the footage. Most of it is just footage from us in the studio, and all the little good little parts, snippets of us writing and recording in the studio. And yeah, we just thought it'd be cool to sort of sum up the recording experience with that. And we always like seeing little snippets like that from other bands, so thought it'd be cool.
We've been putting out a series of webisodes on YouTube as well, and it kind of takes a bit of footage from those and ties in with that. So it's kind of a summary of the recording process and the webisodes.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So the record that's coming out on the 1st, now that I've established that, what can you guys tell me about the record? Because I know it's your debut record, but you guys had some sort of a demo that came out in 2018 too. So what can you guys tell me about that?
Yeah, so we released the demo on the day we kind of announced the band. So we got the band together in late 2017. We already had a few songs written, so we recorded all that and released that the day we sort of put the Facebook page and the website online, and then we recorded and released a split EP around 6-7 months later. With a band from Melbourne, Australia called Blunt Shovel, called the 12-inch split EP, which has a very confronting album cover for anyone who's interested in checking that out. And then probably we toured that in Australia for about 2 or 3 months, I think, and then we just started writing the album. So that was in sort of late 2018. We started writing it, and it was quite a long, intensive sort of process, but we entered the studio in June of 2019, June last year, and recorded throughout June, July, and we got the sort of final masters back in about October, And yeah, now it's finally coming out on Wormhole Death Records, Italian label, on the 1st.
That's great. That's great. So how does the writing process go for you guys? Is it kind of like a group effort, or does everyone kind of like have their own like roles?
For this last one, we all sort of collectively brought our riff ideas and song ideas together, and everyone sort of had a bit more of a democratic approach to it. Yeah, that was from the start of this writing process for this release. We're doing it that way. It made for a very like very different sort of. There's a lot of ups and downs and different styles going on the album, and yeah, throughout the process of writing the songs, everyone sort of contributes little ideas to tweak little parts here and there, and so yeah, we try and share that around a bit.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, how did you guys form? Because you guys are kind of, you're not new, but you guys are kind of like a new-ish band. So how did you guys come together?
Yeah, well, actually, Matt and myself had started we were both in relatively established bands in Australia. But we had been friends quite a long time, and we just decided to do a bit of a band for fun called the Kraken. I think we did that in like 2014 or 15 or something like that, a long time ago, and put out a CD and did a bit of touring and stuff like that. But it was always just a little thing we did on the side for a bit of fun. And then eventually things in our own bands had slowed down a little bit, so we decided we wanted to kind of do a band that took things to the next level, and we didn't want to keep going with the Kraken because it was just a bit of fun. Stylistically, it was kind of different from what we were really passionate about. So, but we took some of the riffs that we'd had and turned them into those first songs that were on the Shatterbrain demo. And we'd had conversations with each actually individually had conversations with Patrick, who's the bass player in the band, before that, and he'd expressed to each of us that he was really keen to try and start a band that really wanted to sort of take things to the next level, do regular touring, be a little bit more prolific with the releases. So he was the first port of call in terms of the next band member, and then he recommended Jack, who we'd played with in his old band Infiltrator, and then we knew Tom, the vocalist from his previous band from in the early 2011, 2012, that kind of time. So we got in touch with him, and he'd recently moved back to Adelaide from Queensland, and it all just kind of worked. So we got the band together, like I said, in late 2017, and kind of haven't looked back.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I do want to ask this, though, and this isn't a question I usually ask because it's kind of generic, but considering I've never been to Australia, I'm very curious. What's your music scene like down there?
It's pretty cool. It's each city has its own little tight-knit sort of community, metal community, and everything's pretty spread far apart. So all the major cities are quite far away from each other. So whenever we travel around and play other cities, it's you sort of get to know the other bands in other cities, and it's just like a community kind of vibe, and everyone sort of helps each other out. Sleep on someone's couch, and they sleep on yours when they come around town, and yeah, it's just that kind of vibe. But no, there's a lot of good metal bands and varying styles of metal bands throughout Australia. There's some really great stuff down here, which it's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, for sure. That's something I definitely want to check out and get kind of more into, especially now that I've had you guys on. I'm definitely going to look into some more Australian metal bands for sure. Right. So what made you guys, like, this is kind of like, I guess a group question. What made you guys like want to pursue music? Because I know some people have like that, like, oh, this was like the defining moment that I wanted to do this. And some are just like, oh, I was in choir or whatever. And both are fine, but I usually find like it's one drastic or the other.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I was always surrounded by music as a kid. My parents, neither of them are actually musicians, but they're both big music lovers. Just always grew up with music around the house. Mostly sort of heavy hard rock and sort of proto metal, kind of Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, that kind of stuff. My grandparents, or my pop was a sort of classical musician and worked at the local radio station doing classical music and all that kind of stuff. So I was kind of surrounded by it. But it wasn't until I probably hit 13 or 14 and I just really started, I guess, falling in love with especially heavy music. Just something starts to grab you. For me, it was just like there was something in it that I just really enjoyed. And, you know, I asked for a drum kit and didn't take it very seriously, but it was just fun to bash around with friends. And then after high school, for me, that's when I started to take it seriously. And it was very grassroots. I grew up in country South Australia, which is probably the most backwaters thing you'll ever see, being from the States. But you know, just learning along the way, how do you get gigs? Who wants to watch you play? We played my first band played a lot of shows in pubs, and you just get that itch and you just want to go to the next step, go to the next step, go to the next step. And it's kind of led me to here.
Yeah, and mine's a pretty similar story. I grew up just with music around the house constantly, and similar kind of, you know, classic rock and all that kind of stuff. And got put into guitar lessons from when I was really young, and I didn't really enjoy it originally, but yeah, when I sort of hit 12 or 13, I started to really, you know, find AC/DC and some of the harder rock stuff and Black Sabbath, and actually started learning some of those songs, and then was, oh, hang on a minute, I can play this. Okay, cool. Let's see where this goes. And from there, it was just inevitable that, you know, I was going to be writing stuff and going to be trying to start bands, playing bands, tour, and that was it, really.
That's awesome. That's great. I love the fact that you both mentioned Black Sabbath, because I'm a huge Black Sabbath fan. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you guys for taking time to come on and chat with me. I really appreciate it. And everyone go check out Shatterbrain's record when it comes out May 1st, called Pitchfork Justice.
What's up?
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Just kind of jamming out to Kiss right now. That's
Kiss?
Yeah. I got one of my friends gifted me with a bunch of vinyls a couple days ago, so I've been like jamming out to a lot of Kiss because there was a lot of Kiss in the bundle he gave me.
I just got into Kiss like a year ago, and I've been going through their discography, and you know, because when I was younger, I thought I hated him. You know, like everyone else, it's like, oh, this band's so corny, whatever. But I listened to Paul Stanley's audiobook and really loved it, and just thought he had a great perspective on life. So I was like, maybe I'll give Kiss's music another chance. And I've really gotten into like Psycho Circus, their album that they put out in like '98. That's a good album. And then you got like Love Gun and all that.
Oh yeah, that's a really good. That's a definitely good record. My favorite Kiss record's probably Hotter Than Hell. I don't really know why. I just always gravitated towards that. Which book did you listen to? Was it the one he put out last year?
No, it was Face the Music.
Okay. Yeah, I remember he put out a book last year, and he was doing a book signing for it in New Jersey, and I drove like 7 hours to go meet him at a book signing because I'm a very big Paul Stanley fan, and he was such a sweetheart, and that was definitely one of my highlights of last year, was finally meeting Paul Stanley.
I highly recommend, if you haven't read the book or audiobook or whatever, I highly recommend Face the Music. It's not. I think the last one he put out was called All Access Pass or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, the one before that is his, you know, like legit autobiography. And like I said, I didn't even really like Kiss before I listened to that audiobook. But it's really good, though. It's like one of my favorite autobiographies. And I don't, like I said, I'm not even the biggest Kiss fan, but it was just so well written.
Yeah. Paul is very well spoken, and I feel like a lot of that kind of gets lost in Kiss because of kind of the reputation Gene Simmons carries, and Paul kind of just gets like thrown into that, and I don't feel like he is any of that. And he's very well spoken. He has a very good head on his shoulders, and he's made a hella career for himself. And I'm a very big fan of him. So I'm glad that his audiobook, I guess, kind of like turned you into a Kiss fan. That's awesome.
Yeah. It did, yeah. I'm slowly like working my way back through their catalog because they got a lot of albums. So,
Oh yeah, for sure.
I started with Destroyer though, obviously, because that's the go-to one. But it's been growing on me, but it's definitely got that classic 70s classic rock sound that I'm not the biggest fan of. But like their later stuff,
Right.
like I said, especially that Psycho Circus album, I thought was really good.
Yeah, they put.
I got into them like literally a few days after they did their tour in Jacksonville, Florida. So it's like I'm really, really angry that I couldn't have gotten into them like a few months earlier, so I could have seen them live, because that might have been my last chance.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I've seen them a couple times live, and they always put on a really good show. It's very consistent. You can tell that they've been a band for a long time, and they're definitely super consistent. Everything goes the way it should be. Like, that's just, I mean, I'm sure they have their off nights and stuff happens, but they're very precise and know exactly what they're supposed to be doing. I definitely recommend Paul Stanley's solo record, the one that when they all did like the solo records in the 70s. His record is so freaking good, man. I definitely highly recommend that if you're getting into Kiss right now.
Yeah, I think I gave all their solo ones a listen. Yeah, I think I liked his. His was pretty good. Peter Chris's was the worst.
Yeah.
Totally different kind of music than what I'm into. Very R&B. He's a great singer, though. I think Peter Criss is a very underrated singer.
Oh yeah, for sure. It was just definitely his solo album was kind of off somewhere, and he's doing his own thing. Enough of me rambling about Kiss. I am very excited to have you guys on. When Dakota actually from Devil Inside Records was the one that introduced me to you guys, and I actually really like you guys, and I'm not saying that I don't like all the bands I bring on, but you guys are really good, and I was one of those really surprised, like, holy shit, this is actually really good. I was really, not that I was expecting it to be bad, I was just really surprised. So you guys are obviously like an electronic, like kind of like dance rock band, in my terminology at least. How did you guys like come together?
Well, I guess simplest backstory. Back in the day, I used to be married, and my ex-husband was a music promoter of sorts, and he put on this big music festival downtown, and he would get together with all these artists, and he would put together like little CD packets and stuff. It was all like a mental health sort of organization, and he had found Josh, which was in its infancy. Like, that was Dancing with Ghosts round 1. So I knew who Josh was, and I met him there because I was also helping out with the festival. So I knew who he was, but I'd only heard one of his songs. I hadn't heard the rest because his first album hadn't come out yet. His first album, Koyaanisqatsi, came out after me and my husband separated. His first album had gotten dropped in July of 2017, and I became pretty much like an instant mega fan. During Hurricane Irma, we were hanging out, and he was playing me some of the songs off there, and I knew all the harmonies and everything. Like, I remember the lights were out because the power was out. We had like a candle on the table, and like I'd brought over like beer and a jar of peanut butter, I think, because that was like all that was available. And he was playing his songs acoustically. I knew all the harmonies and stuff. And I've always been in bands, but I was between bands at the time. And I had really wanted in on this project, but I wasn't going to tell him as much because I was such a fan, but I respected the fact that this was his kind of like his solo baby. And after he figured out that I knew all the harmonies and stuff on my own without having to be taught and stuff, he was pretty much like, oh, you're in the band. So I basically fanned my way into the band, which is the first. So that's really good to love what we're making so much, to be able to help create it is just the best.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, you guys have like a dance feel, and it's really, I really like it. I like rock music that has like an electronic kind of reminded me a little bit of some of Combi Christ's like earlier stuff, and I thought that was really cool.
We've
So I know,
we've gotten compared to Combi before.
yeah, it has kind of that same feel. Like I could see you guys definitely playing with them. There's a local band in Pittsburgh called Hot Pink Satan, and they're one of my favorite like local acts up this way. And you guys kind of reminded me of them a little bit too. And that's definitely a compliment because I'm really good friends with them, and they're really I think they're really good. So you guys have 3 records in, and you guys released an album last year called Say Hey. Is that right?
Hex.
Hex? Oh, okay.
Hex.
I couldn't read my notes. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So, what was that?
I said, yeah, so last year was Hex.
Okay, cool. So, how would you say that was different from the other 2 records that you guys have put out?
Well, the first album was just me, and like literally everything was me, from the vocals to the production to the instrumentation and everything. Then when Stephanie joined the band, we kept writing, and we were like, well, let's write some new songs and just release like a little EP, you know, with songs that feature Stephanie on there. I keep calling you by Stephanie. She hates her name.
Yeah.
So I feel bad every time I say it. She's going to change her name in the future. So I feel bad for whatever. For right now, that's who you are. Anyway, yeah, it's a little side tangent there. So we were going to just put out an EP with her vocals on some new songs. And that was, it was just going to be called Nightmare Inside You, The Nightmare Inside You. And we did that. And then we even went back and we took 2 of our songs from the first album and re-recorded it with her vocals on it, because we were playing all these songs live with her singing vocals. So we thought it made sense that she should be on the record too, singing the vocals for those songs. So we did that. The EP turned into a second album because we had amassed like 8 new songs, and then 2 of the revisited ones from the first album with her vocals on it. So then, you know, I think like a year went by where, I don't know, you take it from here.
We were starting to run into dilemmas at our shows because people would ask us which album to buy. And I basically also play merch person at our shows. So I'm always behind the merch booth, always. Every single show, that's kind of like my little area. And so people would ask, well, you know, what should I buy? And I was like, well, it depends, because, you know, what songs did you like? We sing and play them all live, but what they're going to sound like on the album varies depending on, I like this song. It's only represented on the first album. But it's not the way we wanted an album that encompassed who we are now with how we perform and what we do. So when we created Hex took basically the best of both albums, re-recorded, remastered. Hex, there's only really 2 brand squeaky new songs on there. But the purpose was to give fans one definitive thing, that this is Dancing with Ghosts, this is our sound, this is what we do, this is what you'd expect to hear live. Because it was confusing to, when people would be like, well, what album do I buy? And it didn't feel right selling them 2 very different things when we could give them one that's basically what they really were wanting.
Yeah, but like Hex represented more of the live show, like a set list from the live show that we were performing, instead of before we had 2 CDs on the merch table. My first CD, which had no Stephanie vocals on it, and then Nightmare Inside You, which lacked a lot of the songs that were in the set that night. So it was kind of like, okay, we just need one product, one image, one CD, 15, 16 of our best songs culled from both of the albums. I had gotten better at mixing and mastering as well, so I was able to go back in songs off the first album. I was able to kind of remaster and remix them. So yeah, that's basically how that album came about, and we just, put in like a history of everything in the liner notes and all, because like I'm still big on physical media, so anytime we put out anything, I want like an actual physical release of some kind. So that's kind of like the Hex is like the definitive, Dancing with Ghosts 2019 and before, that's like, what we were, and now we're in the process of writing new music. So
yeah, so we've made a few singles since then, and are about to release another one on May 8th.
Okay, you're over answering her question now.
But I'll
the question has been answered.
I'll hit you. She can't see what's going on my side of the microphone.
You guys are great. I love this. No, that actually leads right into my next question. So you guys did an awesome live stream last Saturday, and had you guys played I Like You, which is the song that she was talking about coming out on the 8th. Do you guys have any semblance of when that record will be coming out that's going to be on, or are you guys kind of just still kind of working through the quarantine life, dealing with the
yeah, so what we're doing now, the approach that we're taking is releasing new songs as singles, and then once we've put out about,
I'm not even going to put a number out there.
Yeah.
Just whatever we feel comfortable with.
Let's say after we put out like 6, 7, 8, singles out, at that point, I think we'll make maybe 2 more songs that are album exclusives, and then release a new album. So because it's, it's a singles driven market nowadays, and the whole album experience is kind of lost on a lot of people now. Like they just want to jump onto their streaming platform of choice, pick the song they like, listen to that, jump to another artist. It's not back like it for me growing up in the 90s, like I'd get like, a Smashing Pumpkins album and I'd listen to it from the beginning to the very end. And it was like just this incredible experience. I just don't think people listen to music like that anymore. I really don't.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. And that's something that I talk a lot about on this podcast, if I'm being totally honest, with different artists. Because it's right, and there's some bands that still works for, and they do their concept records and they do all that stuff, and it's great, and they promote their singles off the record, and it's fine. But I also definitely see a point in it's a singles driven market when you're on streaming, and everyone's kind of like, oh, there's a new single out, I'm gonna go check that out. Oh, there's a new album, well, is this song on it? I totally agree.
Well, that's something that we learned too. So like Josh's first album is more of a concept album. So it really is like, it really does kind of take you on a journey, and there's a theme and things like that. So that's very conceptual. Whereas where we released Nightmare album, that whole album is kind of like whatever, it was our first time collaborating together and creating what do we sound like now. And then on that, one thing we didn't do is release some of the new songs, not stuff that was redone from the first one or what have you. Some of the other ones didn't get a chance to kind of stand on their own in Hex. Like Narcissist would have been an amazing one to release as a single, but we didn't know it at the time. And it's become a fan favorite on its own, but it took a lot more time than it would have as a single, because people are listening to it on the album, and not everybody listens to albums the way that we used to. So, that's where kind of like me looking at some of the bands that I love, they're singles heavy these days. But man, each one is just a killer. But that doesn't mean that we don't appreciate those, what you'd consider B-sides. Some of my favorite songs from a lot of albums are the B-side ones. So it doesn't mean that we don't have a lot of material on deck at any given time. We just want to be selective, I think, right now with what we're releasing as our singles. And then when we feel comfortable, then we'll move forward into the album creation. But I think mostly it'll be singles for a while.
The way that Spotify works, for those who may not know, so like the dream with Spotify is to get on one of their editor curated playlists. That almost guarantees you a couple of thousand streams, if not more, and the ad revenue that comes along with that. And if you're submitting, you can submit one song at a time on Spotify to the curators to look at. They usually get rejected. All of ours have. But if you do an album, then you lose the possibility of one of those songs being chosen by a Spotify curator to get featured on their playlist. So if you submit them all as singles first and then throw them all together onto an album, then each single had its chance to be reviewed by a Spotify editor and possibly put on a playlist. So that's the secondary reason we're doing it like this.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, that's that's actually really smart, if I'm being honest with you. And I definitely see the logic in that. How the Spotify algorithm works is really weird, and I've been learning a lot about it recently. Yeah, it's kind of weird how it works, but that's a good way to go about it, I guess. So I read something that was in one of the things you guys sent me, and it said that you guys like to take kind of like a more DIY approach to a lot of things, and you guys also like to make sure that every show that you guys do is like more of a performance. So I kind of wanted to ask you guys about that. What does that really mean?
What was that last part about the performance? It was
you guys, it was something in the EPK you guys sent me that said you guys like to strive for every performance to be a real show.
Yeah, so
I was just kind of wondering what you meant by that.
Yeah, so when we put together our shows, we're not just up there just playing and singing. We put a lot of crafting into what we do. So you were watching the live stream the other day. What you may not have seen very, very well through, I don't know what screen you were watching, but we actually have like timed visual imagery that plays along, that's like hand-tailored, created by us for every single song that we play live. So that's like, you get more visual imagery. Sometimes I'll go out in the crowd and things out and just all different things. We have little props that we use here and there. Like, the thing is, we both have really liked different types of theatrical ones over the years. And I grew up with my fair share in the theatrical. I was, a chorus kid. So I tend to gravitate towards that. So I don't think that shows these days, I don't think enough bands are really giving the term when they're like, oh, we're going to play a show. Yes, but are you putting on a show? Are you giving an experience? Are you enveloping the audience in something that so they can really forget, their troubles for a little bit, and just kind of immerse themselves in that moment, make it, kind of like magical for them. That's what shows felt like to me when I was a teenager, and that's kind of what
our go-to example on this is going to a local show and seeing 4 guys on stage in cargo shorts, flip-flops, who don't move, who stare at the floor and play their songs, and the crowd are all on their cell phones. You see all their lighted faces from their cell phone screens because nobody gives a crap. It's not an entertaining performance, and there's no reason for them to stare at these 4 dudes on stage not really doing anything. So that is like the exact opposite of what I wanted to do in music. I was like, man, that I don't know if they have stage fright or they're just lazy or they don't care, but it gives the impression that they don't really care. And so with us only being a 2-member unit, we knew we had to compensate for the fact that we don't have a drummer, and that's like a big deal to some people when it comes to the live element. So we have these 2 big TV monitors that have imagery and video that go right in sync with the music. You were able to see that in the live stream. All of that's a bit more impressive when you're actually live in person, seeing it instead of over a little webcam stream it was. We actually used our video camera for that. We didn't use a webcam. Anyway, I'm getting off topic, which is going to happen a lot with me and Stephanie because we like to talk a lot, as you probably surmise. So yeah, we really try to go above and beyond what what we see other bands are doing on our level. Now, obviously, when we get to the next level and we have real money we can start putting into our production, it's going to get even more ridiculous because you know that there's big dogs out there on the road and they got their own custom lights and their giant scrims behind them and they have their choreographed performance. We're going to get to that level, but at the level we're at now,
we're gonna have backup dancers and everything, the whole 9 years.
No, well, maybe, I don't know. As far as the DIY thing, it kind of ties in with the live performance because all the screens, all the imagery, any clothing choices, face paint designs,
all of our music videos,
all the music in general, the production, the creation, the recording, putting the albums out in CD form. I mean, we don't press the CDs here or anything, but the artwork that's on the T-shirts, every literal thing about our band, album art, photography, whatever, it's done by either me or Stephanie.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the DIY approach for us really, I mean, it really is in every sense of the word. It is do it ourselves.
Yeah, so we do take a lot of pride in that because it does feel good when you get that finished product and you know what went into it. So there's something very rewarding about that because God knows neither of us came from money, so there is no daddy money bags to help ease with any of that since there's only 2 of us. We have to get creative with stuff.
For me, it's a patience thing too,
too.
Because I don't want to sit around and be on someone else's schedule and wait a week, 2 weeks, sometimes longer for when they'll be able to shoot a music video for us or record us in their studio and we're on their time and we're paying them. And there's always this tendency as well that I found for myself, personality-wise, when I'm working with someone else, I have a tendency to get a little sheepish and I won't say exactly what I want. And then I'm just always disappointed with the end result when I think to myself, damn, if I could have just gotten behind that control board in the studio, I could have done it the way I wanted. And, I'm not good at, being, no, do it this way. Nope, still not right. No, a little more, tweak it a little more.
He says that, but he's perfectly good doing that with me. So no worries. We got that out of the way a long time ago.
Well, yeah. You're subservient to my demand.
I want the end product to be right. I want it to be good.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And definitely if you want to have things your way, there's nothing wrong with that. And you guys are definitely one of the best DIY bands that I've found yet. And I'm not just saying that because I have you guys on right now. I genuinely mean that. Well, thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for coming on here and talking with me. And I hope everyone checks out I Like You when it comes out May 8th. Hello.
Mic check.
Hey, I can hear you. You're good.
Hey, what's up?
Hello.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Not much. Quarantining.
We're all here.
Quarantine and chill?
Yeah, quarantine and chill.
And schoolwork for some of us.
And finals.
Oh gosh, that sucks.
Finals are the worst. Yeah, it's terrible.
Oh my god, I can just imagine. Are you guys in college or are you guys in high school?
3 of us are.
College.
And
Brett's working.
Yeah, I'm working.
I'm graduating in a few days.
That's cool. This whole virus stuff must have messed up like some of your graduation plans, I would imagine.
Oh, thank God.
You sound happy about that. I kind of feel that when I graduated from college, everyone kind of like forced me into having a party, and I was like, I don't want any of this. I don't want to walk. I just like want to go to a concert or something and celebrate.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, that's a party. That's great.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. I was like, what do you mean I have to walk? I don't want to do this. And I feel bad kind of complaining about that with everything going on. I'm sure there's people that were very much looking forward to walking this year, but I was not one of those people when I graduated.
Oh, don't worry, it's going to be really cool. We get to watch a slideshow with names announced on a fucking Zoom meeting.
I used Zoom for the first time, like,
You gotta do
that's wild. That's wild.
Minecraft.
Yeah, he said we'll do it on Minecraft.
I used Zoom for the first time like last week, and it was so weird. Like the permissions on it were weird, trying to make it work, and it was just, it was a shit show.
Oh yeah. Man.
I fucking hate Zoom. Like, all they saw, like, I figured out how to turn the camera on, but I couldn't turn my mic on, and I couldn't hear what they were saying, because, like, I guess there was, like, another thing I had to hit for that, so everyone just sees me, like, avidly pressing at my phone. Like, why isn't this working?
Oh, yeah. Just this morning, I accidentally had my mic unmuted, and the whole class got to hear me brush my teeth before my teacher asked me to turn the mic off. So I was like, oh, great. So
you should watch the videos of people crashing Zoom classes, like the famous YouTubers. Those are really funny.
Oh,
oh my god, I didn't know that was a thing.
I didn't know that was a thing.
No, boys do it. They're really funny with that.
That's funny.
I'm putting that on my to-do list for tonight. That is freaking amazing. I love that.
Yeah, they're good.
Oh my gosh.
I
So tell
kind
me.
of want to join college so I can.
Go ahead.
You really don't. It makes you want to not do.
She's got.
All right.
All right, what's up?
You guys can talk. You're fine. I'm not talking over you guys. Talk all you want. That's funny. I'm enjoying this conversation. I just got quiet.
Yeah, my bad. All right.
Awkward silence.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about you guys' band, UltraViolent. I've not heard of you guys before. I'm not going to act like I have, but I do know you guys are from PA, which is not that far from me.
Oh, where are you at?
I'm down in Wheeling, West Virginia right now, so I'm only like 40 minutes from the city.
Oh,
So, yeah.
3 hours probably. So we're like in some. No, we're not southern. We're central PA. About 2 hours from Philly.
Southern to central.
Yeah, southern central. But yeah, we started this band in 2014. We had another guitarist, but now we have Danny, who had just joined in the last year. But we started it when we were 14 and 15 years old. We started out as a cover band. And just it kind of went from there. We decided we wanted to do original music. Then we wrote an EP, and we actually recorded it in our basement here in what was, the startings of a studio that we still use today. But obviously, like, we've gotten a lot better at using it. Our first EP sounded like dumb, but our album is I think it's a radio quality album. I didn't mix it. It was our guitarist and vocalist Brett here. He did all of it. Yeah, he did. I think he did a really good job on our last album.
Thanks, Avery.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Avery.
Yeah, we're all very happy with it because before quality was an issue, and now we're like, wow, it was. I personally think it was amazing what he did with it. And it was something that we did, produced and recorded and written by us.
And saved us a lot of money too. And time.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But that's the modern music industry. A lot of stuff that you used to have to pay like thousands for, you can do that, in your home if you are willing to put the time into it.
For sure. I totally agree with you on that. That's really cool though that you guys did kind of the whole production by yourself. Because I've never really had a band on yet that's done like a full production of a record by themselves. That's really awesome. Did you guys have ever used a recording studio before, or were you guys just like, nope, we're just gonna go full DIY, fuck this shit?
We did as UltraViolent, we did one time, and then
yeah, we were just. They lost the files that we did, and we were like, and it was our buddy who did it out of a university studio. And then he's like, oh, well, we lost the files. And you know what? We were talking about making a studio down here in Brett's basement, and we turned this closet into a studio. And, at that time in 2015, it was like a rough outline of a studio of what it is now. It's honestly grown so much, and Brett has grown so much. It's ridiculous. Like what he's producing now is great.
We've No, we because back when we first made the studio at the time, because we were still in high school, we wanted to put the EP out, our first EP out, like before the end of the school year, and at that time, the only option to finish it in that amount of time was to just do it ourselves. So I mean, I guess that's part of the reason, but I'm still glad that the studio exists, because the studio might not exist if they hadn't lost their files.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, it's kind of a blessing.
Yeah, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing, today if we didn't have this studio.
Right. That's really cool, though. I can definitely relate. I'm a band photographer, and I also do like portraits and stuff like that. And my studio's in my house. So that's really cool that you kind of like made a makeshift kind of studio like I kind of did with my photo stuff. I can definitely relate to you guys on that. That's really cool. Sometimes it's just better to do it yourself instead of trying to trust somebody else with your stuff.
You cut a lot of costs that way. Really. And you have full control over the hours that it operates, which is nice.
Yeah, you're not on somebody else's time or worrying about how much am I paying for the studio right now. Oh, we have to get this done like right now because we can't afford to be here another hour, or don't want to pay them or whatever. I can totally see that.
I feel like if you go somewhere that charges by the hour, like I feel like your takes are kind of gonna be not as good as they could be because you're worried about getting in and out of there as opposed to making it the best it can be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I fully agree. That way you don't have like the time thing, like, oh, I have to do this now and I have to get this done like perfect the first time, and you aren't like so stressed out. That way it's more of a fun experience, which it should be. Making music should be a fun thing to do. You shouldn't have a time limit kind of restraining you.
Yeah, exactly. And it allows us more freedom to do what we want with the song. And it's not like if the studio or the producer's like, oh well, here's the final product, and we're like, wow, we wish this would have been done. It's like we can do that here, and that's cool. Whereas you would probably have to pay like another $1,000 for them to go and do it the way you want it. It's like, here, you can just do it.
Yeah, you have more creative control over the end product, which is very nice.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a freedom that not a lot of bands get that we're fortunate to have.
Yeah, that's really cool. So how, the record you guys have coming out in June, you guys mentioned that you had an EP that came out in 2016.
Oh.
Would you say the two are like similar, or would you say that they're kind of different?
Do you mean the one that came out last June?
Yeah. I think you're talking.
Oh, that came out last June? I thought you guys had a record coming out in June. That's my bad.
No, we're thinking about putting out something for the summer, a single, but we're still, it's still up in the air. There's a lot of differences in the two discs. If someone else want to elaborate?
Aside from quality, I think we kind of started to find our sound more on the full length. Everything sounds more consistent in terms of the tracks. It's heavier for sure than the EP, of course, and it actually sounds like a radio quality CD, as opposed to just our first swing and just learning how to do the recording stuff.
2 of the tracks from the EP are remastered and put on the Eviction album, which you could really tell the difference in like the production quality, and just even some parts are a little modified, and we find them better.
Yeah, we went in and redid 2 of the songs that were from the EP.
Yeah, we liked and thought were like worth redoing.
We're like, these songs are good, but right now they don't sound as good as we think they could be. So we went back and we redid the 2 that we really liked.
Also, the album tells a story from beginning to the end of it, where I don't think the EP really did much of that.
Yeah, the EP was just kind of like, here's 5 songs, we're a band.
Yeah, and this last one was more of like a concept album.
That's really cool. Yeah, on doing an EP, it's kind of hard to do like kind of any sort of storytelling or any sort of concept. because it's not obviously the same length as a full length. So that's really cool that you guys got to do that. And I'm sorry I was misinformed on that. I feel like a dumbass now, but I'm very sorry that I was misinformed on that. So I always like asking bands that I bring on this question. I just always find like a variety of different answers. So I guess it's kind of a group question. I kind of want to know how you guys got started making music.
Ooh, well, I started super young. I think I was like 5. I don't know. It was in music class, and the teacher gave me some kind of bongo thing.
Yeah, I was in that class.
To play.
I remember this moment.
For some musical type of thing. And
concert.
Yeah, it was some concert thing. We had to dress up as lions and stuff. It was really awkward, but
we were 7, so
however old we were, right? And she was just calling on random people to like play these bongos, and I was like begging to play these bongos, and I was like the last person that she called on to play the bongos. And then I did, and she was like, "All right, you're the bongo person," or whatever it was.
Yeah, he like blew the other kids out of the water. Like, I think like 2 other kids came up before him, and they were like, you know, like, and like Brett actually went up and like played a rhythm that sounded like pretty cool, and they're like, "Yo, all right, like he's pretty good at this." So then they put him on those like little drum things.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I started. It's kind of weird.
That's awesome. That's a cool story, though. I like that.
I can go.
Yeah, go ahead.
My dad got me Guitar Hero when I was like 7, and he got me onto like rock music, and I was really into it. I wanted to start playing guitar. I also started playing snare drum in our school band like in 4th grade. So like I had a pretty basic introduction to music, and when I was like a freshman in high school, I started writing my own riffs, and you know, I had a little hiatus, and I ended up coming back to it when I started college, and I really got involved with writing songs and playing with bands. I was in another band before, UltraViolent, but you know, I just really realized that I'm really passionate about making music and playing and just creating it. So you know, I'm glad to find people that also love making it and playing it too.
That's really cool. Yeah, I used to play Guitar Hero too. That's kind of how I got started. Kind of playing guitar. I'm not good by any means. I'm not calling myself a guitar player, but I definitely do mess around with it a little bit. And that was kind of how I started, was on Guitar Hero. I missed that game, man.
Get Clone Hero. It's the free version with everything on it now.
Hey,
awesome.
Gotta check that out.
Yeah, Danny put a song on Rocksmith for us as well.
Oh yeah, I've been playing Rocksmith. I put Insult to Injury on. I learned how to like create DLC for these things, downloadable content.
Yeah. How about you?
That's awesome.
I agree with Guitar Hero. Guitar Hero is a major influence on my way to becoming a musician. But also, I don't know, I just really liked rock at a young age. Sum 41 and System of a Down, both pop, punk, and metal. I still love them today. But I wanted to play guitar, but then eventually I wanted to play drums. But so like I still wanted to play guitar. I just hate learning guitar. So I'll usually find myself writing a ton of midis. And like I don't know, it's just that really influenced the way I write music. It's MIDI life.
You know, a musician can help you find the fastest way to learn.
Musician.
It's good too. I got better at it from
like I have Rocksmith. I just can't even do it on there. My guitar won't work with it.
Yeah.
Which Brett sold me.
Sorry.
Yeah, and Brandon, when he came in the band, I think you were only playing. You're not guitar, drums for like a year, right?
I've known you for 6 years.
Yeah, but like when you came in the band, you only started playing drums for like a year.
It was like 2 years, but I was really
like
dog
2 years.
shit.
No, dude, Brandon was like,
evolution.
dude, for being in like 1 year, like yeah, of course he's like way better now. Like everybody here is like way better now than we were like 6 years ago. But like, I remember me and Brett were like talking like before when we were like considering like, do we want him in a band? Like he's been playing for like 1 year, but he was really good. Woo! He really was, especially for just the short amount of time he was playing.
If I remember correctly, we kind of put him on the spot, like on the first practice.
Yeah, with
we were just kind of like
Avenged Sevenfold, basically.
Yeah, kind of just like an Avenged Sevenfold.
So I just kind of played the Avenged Sevenfold song.
Yeah, and it worked.
So we were like, hey Brandon, here's the riff, like play something. And then they're like, all right.
Yeah. And I've been I was singing, or I started singing, like obviously not like seriously, but when I was 3 years old is when I got into it. My grandma used to make me learn like oldies and Christmas songs, and I would sing them with her whenever I was there with her. And that started like the love for it, and I started taking it seriously around like 10 years old. I started playing bass. And yeah, it just kind of went from there.
Didn't you almost not play bass?
Yeah, I almost played guitar, and then like I went to the lessons, and the guy was like, well, what do you want to play? And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, well, what do you have? And I was like, this like $50 Walmart guitar. And he's like, well, it's still up to you. You can get a guitar afterward, and I can start teaching you something today. So it was really on the spot. I was like, well, what about bass? And he's like, oh, well, you could play bass. And I was like, I don't know. It was one of those decisions in life. Like, I normally, like, think a lot about decisions before I make them, like, way more than I should. But it was just, like, one of those things where I was just like, you know what? It just felt right. And it honestly was the best thing that could have worked out, that I'd play bass and, you know, we'd start this band. So, yeah.
That's really cool. That's really cool. I really like you guys' stories.
Thanks.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah, yay for Guitar Hero, right? That's a life changer.
This band wouldn't be formed if it wasn't for Guitar Hero. Me and Brett would grow up playing Guitar Hero before we were even in this band.
Yeah, that's true.
Guitar Hero tournaments.
That's so great, man. Oh my god, I love that.
Yeah,
which is a lot when you're in 5th grade.
We'd put $5 on it.
I need to get sponsored by Guitar Hero now for this podcast. I just promoted the hell out of them.
If we can get some GH sponsorship, that'd be lit. We could rep them live.
Let's get those sponsorships rolling in. Oh my gosh, that's really funny.
Have UltraViolent Guitar Hero, like Metallica had their own.
Get our whole game.
Their entire game. Yeah, that'd be nice.
I'll write out the charts for only a small fee of $10,000.
So why'd you get your own Guitar Hero made? Well, we liked it.
Yeah.
This band wouldn't be formed without it, man. You don't understand.
You know, there'd be like 13 songs.
Yeah.
$50.
13 song Guitar Hero, $60. Well, we could do a storyline like they did in like Guitar Hero 3. We'd make a story to the game.
Yeah, right now we just have enough for a DLC, so
yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's great, guys. Well, it's been great talking to you. Thanks for taking time to talk with me today. I really appreciate it.
You too. Thank you.
Woo. I hope you guys are staying safe with all this crazy shit going on in the world right now.
It sucks.
Yeah, you too. Take care with that, honestly.
Yeah, for sure, man. I've been staying safe and hope you guys do the same. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.